Hello, and welcome to On Preachy, a podcast from St. John Chrysostom Parish. Today, Father Brian Zumbrum reflects on John chapter 3, verses 13 to 17. The Gospel reading for Sunday, September 14th, 2025.
So as many of you know, I have buried two former students who were killed by gun violence. And I must admit, it completely changed my relationship with guns. Prior to that, I grew up in central Pennsylvania, where guns were part of a lot of my family and friends' recreational lives. I shot shotguns and rifles at shooting ranges as part of the Scouts. We never had school on the Monday after Thanksgiving because that's when deer hunting started. And many a lunch table was swapping deer venison and deer jerky throughout my childhood. I sat through all the safety briefings on how to load and clean and maintain a firearm. And I must admit, this all felt normal as a kid. But after looking at the face of Brandon in the casket, guns stopped feeling normal to me. They simply became a symbol of a crippling loss, a hole that is never quite filled. And every time since then that I've seen one, it just brings me back to that wound. Whether it's a pin on a lapel, a giant flag waving off the back of a truck, the image on a t-shirt, or shooting on a video game, it all brings me back to what I lost. I was reflecting on this with my colleagues this week as our nation was once again confronted with the cost of our guns. But then one of my colleagues looks around my office, in which we have over 60 crosses on every single inch of space. And she goes, "Does it ever make you think differently about the cross around us?" I didn't quite get the comparison until she pushed it a little farther. She goes, "Isn't the cross also just a reminder of a wound that doesn't heal?" And I have to admit, I had never really stopped and thought about it that way. I never really thought of the cross as abnormal. But there is something actually really bizarre that we surround ourselves by an instrument of torture and death. It's actually really weird that a lot of us are wearing it around our necks at this very moment, myself included. It's really weird that we put a torture device as a tattoo on backs and biceps and chests. I was counting just in this space alone, there are dozens of crosses that surround us. But isn't the cross simply a reminder of a brutal Friday on Golgotha, on the outskirts of Jerusalem, thousands of years ago? A moment in which Jesus was abandoned by his friends, betrayed by his enemies, tortured, and then executed. A moment in which, in his final breaths, he felt utterly abandoned, crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That's the symbol. Why do we keep it? Why is it this symbol that has persisted through the generations? Why not a cave with an open stone rolled away? Why not a dove for the Holy Spirit? Why not a flame for the Holy Spirit? Why have we claimed the torture device as our symbol? I think the answer is all in this gospel. For God so loved the world. For God so loved the world that he was willing to enter into the darkness of pain and loneliness, rejection and death. For God so loved the world that God was willing to take up the cross for the sake of the world that was crucifying him on it. And in choosing to take it, Christ transformed it for all time, revealing to the world that the darkness would never be able to overcome his light. That violence would never stop Christ's peace. That the abandonment would never overwhelm the community that he had built. That the fear and the pain and the anger could never stop his love. My friends, I am convinced that if we are to be followers of that cross, we must do the same. We must enter into the darkness and be light. We must enter into the violence and be ambassadors of peace. We must enter into the fragmentation and the division and the disconnection and build the community that people are desperately seeking. We must enter into the fear and be courage. We must enter into the pain and be healing and empathy and grace. We must enter into the anger and the rage and be gentleness and forgiveness. We must enter into the hate so that we can be love. Beacons of love that shine forth from the very crucible of our suffering, from the very crosses that still mark our lives as individuals and as a people. Today, my friends, we celebrate the triumph of the cross, which ultimately is the triumph of love. And it is that symbol that I'll claim each and every day. May God be praised.
Unpreachy is a production of St. John Chrysostom Parish in Wallingford, Pennsylvania. Visit us at sjcparish.org. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. This podcast was produced by Brendan Lorden with music by Skytoes on Upbeat. Thanks for listening. Be well.